So you decided to get into a TCG. Maybe you want to collect some nice cards, or maybe you want to play the game. Either way, you don't want your cards to get damaged. So, of course, the first thing you do is go to the internet and ask how to protect them. Right?
And shove it up your butt.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Collecting Rod. Today, I wanted to touch on a topic that often confuses new people who want to get into a TCG and want to protect and organize their collections. Card sleeves. I know, it's not the most exciting of topics, but it is very important to know the options that exist and to understand what each of them are good for, and arguably more importantly, what they are not good for. I will briefly touch on other adjacent topics such as binders, deck boxes, and other organization methods, but it will not be the main point of the video, and I won't be very exhaustive there, giving you only my opinion and what works for me. Also, this video is not sponsored, and all the brands that I will mention here are brands that I like and that I actually use myself. So, having said that, let's get into it. Let's get started with probably the most widely known type of sleeves: penny sleeves. Penny sleeves are extremely inexpensive. They are soft and flexible, and if you intend to collect cards for a TCG such as Pokemon, the most common size for them is going to be 2.5 by 3.5 inches. I personally use Ultra Pro Standard Transparent, but I don't have any unopened sleeves for the B-roll, so here, this will do. Now, depending on what you want to do with your collection, these might as well be the only type of sleeves you'll ever need. As they are very soft and flexible, they might be the safest way of protecting your cards as you take them out of the pack. And they are also fairly loose, so you won't damage the borders or surface. These sleeves will fit into most binders, and that's probably where they should live. I would not recommend keeping stacks of cards in penny sleeves because the fact that they are so soft means that when you stack them, they are quite slippery and can fall to the floor. You can always put them inside a box, but again, because they are slippery, it will be quite tricky to get them out without making a bit of a mess. Another problem with penny sleeves is that if you are likely to be handling your cards and reorganizing your collection often, because they are so flexible, they are probably not going to do a great job at protecting your cards from frequent handling. The next type of sleeve I want to discuss are perfect fit sleeves. Perfect fit sleeves are identical to penny sleeves, except they will provide you with a more snuggle fit for your cards. My preferred brand are the ones from KMC. So, what's the benefit here? Well, on the one hand, a card inside a perfect fit sleeve won't have any room to move inside it, so it's less likely that it will get damaged by more frequent handling. On the other hand, some cards with some specific types of foiling can be quite delicate and might get their borders damaged when trying to fit them in. But if you're careful, it shouldn't be a big problem. Perfect fit sleeves can be stored in a binder, just like a penny sleeve, but because of their smaller footprint, they are often used to double sleeve your cards. Double sleeving only means placing an already sleeved card inside another sleeve. The most common form of double sleeving is to place a card in a perfect fit sleeve inside a penny sleeve. Normally, you would do this by first placing your card into the perfect fit sleeve upside down, and then inside the penny sleeve the other way around. This way, all borders of your card are protected. Now, talking about double sleeving, although penny sleeves can do the trick, I prefer to use another type of sleeve that's a bit more rigid and thicker. I'm talking about clear standard sleeves. The ones I personally use are a mouthful, but I'll try to say the name in one go. They are Dragon Shield Standard Sleeves Clear ART 10001. As you can see, they are thicker and a touch more rigid than standard penny sleeves, but they are still very soft. To me, paired with perfect fit sleeves, this is the best way to store your more expensive cards in a binder, even if you move them around quite often. The only downside is that it can be a bit tricky sometimes to insert the card in the perfect fit sleeve inside one of these, as they are a bit more snug than a penny sleeve. But this is because there is actually a correct way to do this, which is to slide the card in the perfect fit sleeve into the standard sleeve instead of pushing it from the top. This can also be fixed by using side-loading perfect fit sleeves, but I personally don't like this approach for no other reason that I'm used to the standard ones by now. I also use these sleeves for my token cards in my Digimon decks, as they are clear in both sides and offer very good protection. And in fact, That's what these sleeves are actually for. Decks. The only difference being that they are clear in both sides, and because of that, I prefer them to organize my collection. The standard sleeves that I actually use for decks are just the standard Dragon Shield matte ones, and in this case, matte refers to the colored side of the sleeve, not the see-through one. I like my sleeves to be clear on that side. Even for my decks, I will still double sleeve my cards because I'm crazy, and if you do this like me, just make sure to press the deck with your hand to release the trapped air. And before we move to the most popular kind of sleeve, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. It really helps the channel and it motivates me to make more content. Alright, now let's talk about another type of sleeve that's very well known, but in my opinion, extremely overused. Top loaders. Top loaders are a type of rigid sleeve that offers very good protection. They are made of hard plastic. Because of that, they should never be used on their own to store raw cards as they will likely get damaged or scratched. Always use them in conjunction with any form of soft sleeve, like a penny sleeve or a perfect fit sleeve. The ones I use are the Ultra Pro 3x4 regular top loaders. Even though they are rigid, they are not often very snug, so they are useful as temporary storage for cards you don't know where to put yet and you might want to take out regularly. This is one of the reasons they are used in card shows. They offer high protection, but a buyer can still take the card out and inspect it, or re-sleeve it afterwards. They are very chunky and they will not fit in a standard binder. There are binders for top loaders, but the only reason I would recommend those is for storing cards you want to trade or cards you just bought and come in a top loader. Top loaders are also often used to ship cards when selling, but if you are planning on doing this, you need to be careful because, as we mentioned, top loaders are not very snug, and the card might fall off in transit and get damaged. To prevent this, you can always tape the open side of the top loader, or, better yet, use a team bag so that the card is perfectly secured. Now, some people won't like using top loaders for shipping cards even if you take these precautions, arguing that the card will still move quite a lot inside the top loader and it can get damaged. In my opinion, that's very unlikely, but if you are worried about that, you can always use the next type of sleeves. And those are semi-rigid sleeves. These sleeves are very big, fairly rigid, and very snug. And because they are so snug, the card will most likely stay in place during transit. Also, because they are so big, hits to the sides of the sleeve won't damage the card inside, and it will also occupy more space inside the envelope, moving less. Some people also use bigger team bags to send these, but to me, that's just overkill. These sleeves are not supposed to be used to store cards long term. Because they are so snug, you risk damaging the card in the long run, and also, taking the card out of these sleeves requires pretty much bending the card to do it. That's why grading companies just cut them open to get the card inside. So unless you're selling cards or sending them to grade, I just skip these altogether. In fact, I can't really give you a recommendation on what brand to use because I don't really use them. And the ones I got from buying cards are all different brands. The ones that I get the most though seem to be Great Fit and Voltex, so do with that what you will. Now this is all well and good for storing cards in binders or deck boxes, but what if you want to display your cards? Of course you could use top loaders and acrylic stands, but that looks a bit unfinished. Arguably, the best way to display your cards is to send them for grading. Even if you don't like the grading industry, some of the companies that do it make very nice cases. But it's expensive. So the alternative is to use display cases. These cases are very similar to what you get when grading cards, and they normally have UV protection, and the card will fit snugly inside. Some of them can even accept cards in perfect fit sleeves. The ones I use are the Ultra Pro 1 Touch, and they close with a magnet and look really cool on a shelf. The only disadvantage is that if it falls to the floor, it might not be as sturdy as the cases for graded cards, and the card could get damaged. Now that we know about the most common type of sleeves and what they are used for, let's talk about the possible variations you might find. Most types of sleeves will let you choose how you want to load the card, so you can buy sleeves that you load from the top or from the side. This comes down to personal preference, and I myself prefer sleeves that open from the top because it feels more natural. You can also find side-loading top loaders. Can you even call them that? But I really don't like those, and I don't have one to show you. But know that they do exist. Another thing to take into account is the finishing. This is actually more relevant to deck sleeves, and the most common options are transparent or clear and matte. Matte sleeves offer less reflections and glare, but it dulls the colors and finishing of the cards a little. I myself prefer clear sleeves because I like to see the art of the card as close as to how you would see it in a raw card. Also, different companies might choose to put marks on their sleeves, which I personally don't like. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot about binders, but I will give you my recommendations. Personally, I like 3x3 side-loading zipper binders. To me, this is the perfect size. Although, I also have 3x4 binders for pages in my collection that require more cards and I would have to split otherwise. My personal preference in this is either Card Guardian or Voltex binders. The quality is very good in both of them. I also have one 2x2 top loader binder that I use to store cards that don't have a specific place in my collection and I might sell or trade. But again, I would only recommend this type of binder so you can take it with you to buy or trade, but not to store your collection long term, as they are bulky, heavy, and don't store that many cards at all. Now, on deck boxes, I am pretty new to playing TCGs, so take this last piece of advice with a pinch of salt. But if I've learned one thing, is that sooner rather than later, you are going to end up with a bunch of different decks that you will need to store somewhere. At the beginning, I was adamant on buying like high quality deck boxes with like magnetic leads and felt lining, but I soon discovered that it can get really expensive really fast. Ideally, I'd still recommend those if you have the space and the money. The ones that I use are from Vault X, but realistically, I'd say you'll get a better value buying cheap plastic deck boxes like this one right here from GameGenic. Okay everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I also hope that the topic of card sleeves is a bit less intimidating now. Please let me know in the comments if I forgot to mention a specific type of sleeve that you use in your collection, or if you might use the sleeves I mentioned in this video in a different way. Thank you for watching, and until next time, catch you later. Bye!